Okay.
All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the 2023 Group Detox program. And I want to go over this right here with you. So in about 20 years ago, actually about 25 years ago, actually by now, there's a group that did a toxic chemical children's health study. And then it was published, and this is some of the results that came out from that study. And they looked at children when they were born. How toxic are our children? This was like 20-something years ago. Okay, so it's much higher today, I would assume. Okay, but what they found out is the average child being born today was toxic in about 287 foreign chemicals that were trapped in their tissues, ranging from pesticides to consumer plastics to glycophosphates to various other cleansing type chemicals that we use in our homes, including flame retardants, things like that. But actually about 180 of those chemicals are known to cause cancer in humans or animals, and 217 are toxic to our brain and our nervous system of our body, and 208 would cause birth defects in children and also animals. And so this is a good reason to detox. Nobody is exempt from detox because everybody is toxic. So we have to ask the question, how toxic are we? And how toxic are we depends upon our exposures that we've been. And so we have partnered with a company called Vibrant Labs, and they developed a test called Total Toxic Burden Analysis. And that's a good foundation to really assess how toxic are we, because it will analyze your toxicity in a wide range of different areas. As an example, heavy metal, maybe aluminum, amalgams, mercury, and various other chemicals that you may be exposed to from doing x-rays, radiation exposure, things like that. And then also we look at mycotoxins from mold, even contaminated milk or other foods. Like even if you open up an avocado and it's a little black there, maybe you say, well, no big deal, I'll eat the whole thing. And so now you've maybe created some mold in your tissues from that. And also from breathing in a moldy or mildew type environment. So we look at mycotoxin study. Then we look at a chemical study on top of that. And then we look at plastics, how much plastics you have embedded in your tissue. And so my family came from working in a very manufacturing type of environment. One of the companies they worked for is DuPont. And what they found out is that DuPont has a very large law firm that works with them. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they do this chemical analysis on every living organism on the whole Earth, our planet. And when it reaches, they're always doing these studies, and then when the studies reach that, it shows that almost every living organism has the chemical that they're producing, then it's time to scale that specific portion of their company down and then sell it off. They'll start developing a new chemical, to say. So that tends what happens to DuPont. And so from that, we know that almost every living organism today has plastics embedded into them. And then so we're doing plastic studies on ourselves now. And so that's one of the markers that is included in this total toxic burden analysis. And it's pretty amazing the levels that I'm seeing. And for me, I look like I look at myself as a pretty toxic person, just because of my background working in a manufacturing environment as a young engineer just out of college. And then also even younger than that, when I was born on a large farm. We had a cattle farm, cotton and corn, a lot of hazardous chemicals I was exposed to growing up. Then at the same time, my hobby in motorsports, working on engines, tearing down engines, using all kind of chemicals, spraying different things to clean out the oil residue, breathing into that tissue at the same time. But actually this week, I had another engineer that came to my clinic, and his levels was higher than mine, and I was amazed, And so we never know what our toxicity level is until we actually test it. But in the meantime, I did send out an email this week of different types of questionnaires to help you gain insight of exposures in your environment. And also there's a score there you can take. And then let me pull these out here. So a couple different ones. This one right here may look familiar to you. Okay. All right. And so if you score 15 or above, that's a good opportunity to do what we call a 28-day detox. You know, it's a good reason to try to get your score down lower. And then also I want to tell you that some things, certain chemicals, are really tough to bind. Sometimes they need a little bit more intensive detox to really bind those, to pull them out of the body. And so we'll be covering that in our intensive program here. I'll be going over with you today. And then also, we're always looking to see, we're always looking to look at how the health of our microbiome. And we look at the health of the microbiome is in a couple different areas. One is how good of a defense do you have? You know, what your gut immunity looks like, and what kind of defense do you have? What kind of good microorganisms that are protecting your GI lining? And when it protects your GI, then also it's protecting the heart, the brain, other tissues of the body at the same time. And also look at what is growing in that GI tract. Do you have parasites? Do you have bacteria? Do you have pathogens? What do you have growing there in that GI tract? In an overgrowth state, then you got to think about what that's doing is it's attacking, it's bombarding your barrier. We call it intestinal barrier. And so if you have too much of attack on that barrier for long periods of time, then it starts to break down the barrier. Then it penetrates through what we call leaky gut syndrome. And then we have to look at other barriers. Okay, we have to look at the barrier of the brain. And now it's passing to the GI lining, and now it's attacking the barrier of the brain. And then when it starts to break down that barrier, then we start experiencing things. We look at early signs of called risk analysis, early signs of dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that. But some of the early signs we look for is simple things like brain fog, memory loss, those type of things we want to treat as soon as possible, because late stages it's become very difficult to get results from. And then we look at the barrier of the heart. Okay, and so we look at things about if that barrier is broken in the GI, it's coming through now. It's attacking the arteries of the heart. Okay, and so then that creates more inflammation in that area. And so we're always concerned about keeping our barriers in very good health for our body. And then so I did submit to you by email another questionnaire called a Candida self-analysis. And what this does, it tries to create awareness of different things that you might have been exposed to in your life, maybe different cravings that you will have, and that helps determine maybe what level from a self-analysis that you have. And so if you scored a 60 or over in this area, then that's a high need for an anti-candida, antibacterial cleanse. I'll be going over here in just a few minutes. And then when you start on a detox, a fast, and also just general health, and I sent out another questionnaire called colon transit time. Okay, is anybody familiar with colon transit time? All right, so what colon transit time? You think about it. Like if I want to go here to Chicago, okay, there's several different ways to do that. One, I could hop on a Learjet and get there really fast. Okay, I could take a commercial aircraft, just a little bit longer. Or I just want to sleep throughout the whole night, and I take what's it called, Amtrak? Is that the name of Amtrak? Amtrak, you can ride on the train. Okay, and so think about it. So we call that transit time. How much time it takes from point A to point B. Okay, so in the body we look at transit time is when you ingest a food substance, how long does it take to enter out the rectal area? So we call it transit time. And so when you follow the guidelines of this questionnaire here, it gives you a test you can do, and you can actually measure that. So one way you can do that is we have like a little charcoal and clay capsule called Colon Plus, and you can take maybe 2 or 4 of those, like in the morning, and then you can mark your time and your calendar how long it takes to come out, because it'll appear in the stool as black. Okay, and, or you can maybe eat a lot of beets, and it may come out, purple. Okay, and so that's one way to track your transit time. And so, if you eat a really high protein diet, it definitely slows that transit time down. And as you slow the transit time down by eating a heavy diet, like a lot of T-bone steaks, filet mignons, things like that, it creates a lot of decay in that GI tract. Okay, and so from that decay, then what comes out of that decay is, of course, parasites, bacteria, fungus, things like that. Okay. And then certain foods are really, really high parasitic versus other foods. And so here we're living in the South, so there's a food that is on our staple list that is very high parasitic, and that's pork. Okay, and so it's best to not consume pork, and this is the reason why, because the digestive system of a pig, okay, is very, very similar to the human digestive system. Okay, so when you consume that type of meat, from a pork, like say barbecue as an example, okay, the body has a really tough time distinguishing the difference between what is toxic and what's not, because it looks like, is this part of me or is this part of the pig? It has a really tough time distinguishing that. So what happens is that toxin goes into a storage mode, and so it starts storing those toxins. And also, it's very, very highly parasitic, and it's very difficult to kill that off in the meat. Even extended cooking times, it's very difficult to kill those off. So that's one way we can get exposed to parasites. At the same time, if we have a slower transit time after consuming those foods, then it's just going to decay and create a lot of different types of parasites. Okay. And so, was that helpful? Okay, good. All right, good. Anybody have any questions on that?
I've always heard that it takes about 3 days to digest beef, any kind of meat like that. It takes longer to process in your system.
Yeah, so what we recommend doing is taking a digestive enzyme, and that'll help your body break down, metabolize that more completely, and also a little faster. Yeah. And also we can take some fiber. Let me talk about fiber a little bit. So fiber is a good, healthy thing to do. When we talk about fiber, we're looking at 2 different types of fiber. There's a soluble fiber and an insoluble. Okay, and insoluble fiber means as you consume that orally, that it goes through the digestive system, and it's like a broom. The broom is sweeping and cleansing all the different layers of the intestinal lining. So it's cleansing. Okay. And then insoluble fiber, soluble. Yeah, that's soluble fiber. It passes through the intestinal lining, so then it scrubs and cleanses our organs and our tissues of the body. So it's good to have a fiber supplement that includes both of those, insoluble and soluble. So this is an example. So this is just a really simple one. Because it's only 2 ingredients. That's why I like it so much. And it's real simple. It's called metafiber. Okay, it has an apple fiber, and that's the soluble. It's got oat fiber, insoluble. Okay, so it works really well. Okay. Also, like something that's a little bit on the harsh side is one called psyllium powder. Everybody heard of that one? And that one is a little harsh. So if somebody has like an IBS or inflammatory bowel disorder, we won't want to do that because it can like scratch that lining. Okay, but if you don't have that problem, it works really, really good because it's very bulking. It really tends to move things out in that colon. It's really good for that. Then we have one called a biofiber, and this is a 100% plant fibers. So it's very gentle to the body as it goes through. It doesn't scratch, let's say. Okay. So a couple of different types that we would use here. Okay.
Most of us are deplete. We don't have enough fiber in our diet, especially seniors and boomers. We just don't have enough.
Yeah, that's
Hence,
right.
Constipation, dehydration, all those things.
Yeah.
Big problems.
Is it a good idea to take the metafiber every day? I mean, just
Yeah.
to-
Also, it does help to bind cholesterol, which is nice too.
Oh,
So then your body doesn't reabsorb so much of it.
that's a plus.
Okay. We do have one that it's got a lot of studies on it. And that's its primary purpose is to bind cholesterol in the GI tract. And so you just take it one time a day, and that does a really good job of that too. Yeah.
I've lived overseas quite a number of years in my life, and one thing when I'm out and someone has prepared a meal for me, I have to eat it.
Oh,
No
that's-
matter what it is, you
that's-
have to have some of it. So
right.
what I used to do if I would eat an offending food, I would take psyllium.
Oh,
I'd go
that's
home and
great.
have
Oh,
psyllium. So
Great
I
idea.
felt like I was erasing it out, or
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I really
Well,
did.
make sure it moved on out. It didn't go into storage
It
mode.
didn't. No, I don't think I'm storing it.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but
Yeah, so it worked
that's
really good for you, huh?
strategy. Yeah, it
Very
did.
good. Good. That's another way too. You can look at transit time, take some fiber,
Mm.
and usually you can see it when it comes out.
Mhm.
And yeah, another way too is if you're not used to drinking fresh juices, a lot of times you can drink, say 16 ounces of just carrot juice, okay, and then it'll come out looking orange, and then you can measure that transit time that way too.
My aunt drank so much of it, she was orange.
Oh, that's her skin.
Maybe that's
She
too
That
much.
does happen.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah, I mean, yes.
Or we call changing diapers and kids seeing the corn in the
Yes.
bowels. No,
Right.
you know.
Yes.
Hey, we have a guest here. It's not really not a guest. It's one of our person on our team here. Nancy Fain wanted to share. Is it okay?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah,
Just share a little bit about some of her experiences by
yeah.
starting to move into this detox that we're in.
Part of
You want to
John's-
come up here? Or you want to stay there?
Doesn't matter. I mean,
I'm with her, so I'm not just
yeah,
running
I
top
haven't met you. You're.
I'm Billy.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet
Kind of new to
you.
the group. I was
Fantastic.
She's a patient here.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So I'm part of John's comprehensive care team. I've heard about him for years. I've been a health coach with a lot of certifications since 2014, doing a lot of group presentations. I've paired with a optometrist about eye health in a lot of the senior centers. I've had done life coaching at Brookdale Dogwood, all over town. But what I love about John is because he's got the diagnostics to reinforce the protocols. And that to me, the word is test, don't guess. And I think that's really, really important so you can be targeted. But I went to see John and he did a body comp on me and worked with Kelsey. And they're like, your fat cells are just not distributed right and your hydration could be better. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be 68 in August. I got to get that stuff all nailed down. So I've been on this Candida diet, anti-Candida, for a month. And I have to say, totally doable. I don't want coffee anymore because John got me into the matcha latte syndrome. So that's been my big thing. I wake up every morning and that's the first thing I have. John noted that it's very easy on the liver compared to coffee. So I've been doing that. The shakes are fantastic. I find when I want, if I'm still hungry after dinner, I'll just make another one. And then I won't be scavenging around looking for something else quick, a quick fix, as Judy says, to help cravings. But I don't have cravings anymore. I find the best thing for me with the anti-Candida diet is to do a different vegetable with my salad or whatever every evening. So I'll go and buy all different ones. Like one day I'll be a broccoli, another day I'll be a cauliflower. I'll go to Whole Foods and buy 4 bags of riced cauliflower because that takes 3 minutes in your skillet. And of course I love olive oil and that is just so sustaining. I joined an olive oil club through the holistic GYN Dr. Christiane Northrup.
I know her.
Yeah, I love her. I've been following
She's
her
awesome.
for years. But she was talking about an olive oil club. So I just got my first bottle. So every quarter you get a new bottle of olive oil that they have. Her olive oil tester has been scouring Sicily or all over Italy for. So the diet is totally doable. My husband's still eating cheesecake and chips and all that kind of stuff, but my mindset is to do it the right way, and he'll be sorry.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully you'll catch on to your example.
Good job.
Can you get that olive oil from her?
I can send you the link for it. Yeah,
That'd be great.
it's a free bottle, and then it's like $99 a quarter.
I don't know if I could use up that much olive oil.
You
I've been
definitely
using
can.
it.
Dress
Okay.
your vegetables. Yeah.
We're good.
One
I've
person.
done scrambled eggs with olive oil, you know, and I use avocado oil too, but, I mean, you can even just take a swig of it. It's great.
As good as mine.
Yeah, but not those blends, Bertolli and all that stuff, that's garbage.
Let me explain to you
Yeah.
what she means by good, healthy olive oil. So what happens is, we have a large company that's producing a lot of olive oil for distributing throughout the whole world, to say. What happens is, they don't care. They're going to pick the bad olives, the good olives, the medium olives. Everything goes into the batch, okay? And so then that's what you get on the shelf, okay? And that's most places we would shop at. That's a kind of the quality that we're buying, to say. But what Nancy's talking about is, what they only do is they only pick the best olives out of the bunch, okay? And then from that, then that goes into the olive oil that she's buying. And so it's a higher select quality of olive oil. It has more inflammatory benefits, and also the taste is incredible in comparison at the same
There's a
time.
lot of fake ones out there that have peanut oil in the blend.
Yeah.
You have to read the label.
Good. So what I want to talk to you now, I want to kind of break off and go into a little bit different subject, is I know that I talked about 2 tracks in the beginning. One is a track for your husband, your maybe another friend or supportive member to be on, and we call that the Clear Change 28-day program guide. Okay, and so it basically consists of Ultra Clear Renew and AvaClear. Okay, and that's a really good start. It focuses primarily on the liver. Okay. And also food elimination. That'll be going over here in a minute. And so this is what we'll call an easy fast. It's easy fast. Anybody can do it. A child can do it. An adult can do it. You know, it's safe for everybody. It's more easily to do. And so what I was hoping for is that you guys would be leaning a little bit more toward the one that for we'll call the second one's called intensive group fast. Okay, and so. So Kelsey is going to help me out today with this program, but let me just start that out, okay? And so let's talk about what the Clear Change looks like, okay? And I'll be glad to, does anybody have a guidebook like this right here?
I have this one.
Oh, good, perfect, good, so you have one. Okay, good.
It's at home.
There you go. You can, I got I just happen to have some spares. Yes, some spares you can look on.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
All right, good. And so, is anyone read over this book yet?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Every day, I'm looking up what I can eat and what I can't.
Good. You might help me teach this, because I usually I spend most of my time on the intensive part. So this is not the one I usually go on. So any tips, feel free to come right on in. Okay. And so I'm on page 4. That's where I'm going to start out. Okay. And so. So think about the liver is a filter. We call phase 1, 2, and 3. Okay, phase 1 is a large filter, so toxins can move through that pretty easily. But phase 2 breaks it down to more of a microfilter, and that's where the problem exists. Is it gets real congested a lot, pretty much a lot easier, especially if you've had a lot of exposures in life. So what happens is, you have a toxin coming through, and it passes through phase 1 very rapidly because it's a large filter, but then phase 2 is so congested that it can't get through because it's going at a high speed, so then it dumps right back into the tissues. Okay, so our toxicity starts to increase. And so this type of program here, it mainly focuses on primarily the phase 2, because that's the one that we're most concerned about that gets jammed up or congested so easily. So we'll open up that phase 2, so therefore when it goes through phase 1, it can just keep moving and go through phase 2, go out to the kidney excretion processes and out to the bowel. That way you can move it out to the body, and then we call it your toxin load then starts to come down. Okay, and then when your toxin load comes up, you may not notice it so much because it's coming up at a very gradual pace. And then it may get to what we call a tipping point. And a tipping point is then where it's overflowing and you're having a lot of signs of toxicity, from skin rashes to brain fog to memory loss. And it can go to many other different areas from there too. But so what we talk about is we don't want to like to turn the switch, and we want to start this real gradually, because what we're doing is when we start detoxifying, we're kind of stirring things up at the same time, and we don't want to stir things up too rapidly. So on day 1, it talks about Ultra Clear Renew, and this is what we're talking about here. Ultra Clear Renew is a protein shake. Okay, it's got many years of scientific studies. Through Metagenics is clinic in Gig Harbor, Washington, and so we start off with just 1 scoop 2 times a day with this product here. Okay. And then on day 2 we go to 1 scoop 2 times a day. And then day 3 is 2 scoops 2 times a day. Okay, so we're gradually increasing the detoxability on this shake here. Okay, by increasing the dosage. And then the second week is more of our intensive week, and then we're doing this shake 2 scoops 3 times a day. One of the reasons why we're doing that too, we're doing it 3 times a day, because on that second week we are doing more food elimination. Like we're leaving grains out as an example, and so we're doing that to help maintain a very similar load of calories. Okay, so we don't get hungry and don't lose too much weight, things like that. Okay, and then we're consuming this product at the same time. It's called AvaClear, and AvaClear, think of it as if you have like a laundry shirt or your favorite blouse that has a stain on it, you may want to like spray something on it to boost that stain removal ability. That's kind of what we're doing with AvaClear. It's a booster. It doubles the detox ability of the shake. Okay, so that's a really good thing to do during a 28-day detox. Okay, all right. And so with the AvaClear to the right, you can see where you start off again slowly, 1 capsule 2 times a day, and then on day 3, then you start building up to 2 twice a day. Okay. So what I would do is I would just take it at the same time we do a shake. When you take a shake, just take AvaClear along with it, and just swallow that along with it like that. And so that's how the detox works on the products. Then we look at what we call the food list here. Okay, and that's on page 5 now. On page 5, it talks about step 1, and this fast will last. This portion of the fast or detox will last day 1 through day 6. And so basically, what we're doing is in this guide here, it starts on the next page, on page 6, 7, and 8, and it goes over the different types of food. It's like a shopping list. Think of it that way. These are the foods that you would choose to eat on that first week. Okay, and it gives you a wide variety of different foods, from clean fish to gluten-free grains, to legumes, to fruits, to vegetables. So it covers the gamut. You shouldn't have any problem following this diet. But it does actually give you recipes in the back of this book here also, which is really nice. And it also gives you a sample meal plan on what this will look like for a couple of days. Okay, so they already plan your meals out for you. But the big change is when you go into the second week, on day 7 through 13. Then we're starting off with, make sure this, yeah. So I like fish. Fish is an anti-inflammatory type of meat. Okay, especially when we talk about fish, we want to choose mostly wild fish instead of farm raised. So when I look at wild fish, I'm looking at things like Alaskan or salmon from Norway versus Atlantic. It's going to all be farm raised. It has a lot of there's a special type of fatty acid called anuronic acid. It's very inflammatory to the body, and so that's why I want to cut down on the anuronic acid and start consuming a lot more fish with the EPA and DHA in it, which is very anti-inflammatory to the brain, joints, and also the arteries of the body. And so you'll be actually doing, the only protein that you'll be consuming is fish only on that, actually the second and third week. Okay, just kind of be ready for that. And then when we talk about fruits and vegetables, we're looking at, on the fruits, the low glycemic fruits. And so some of the choices of fruits would be apple, applesauce, and pears. So, very gentle. Okay. So we call those core fruits, and that's what you're consuming just for that 1 week, day 7 to 13. And then also you'll be consuming only the core vegetables. The core vegetables are what we call the non-starchy, very dense detox vegetables is what we want to focus on. Things that you're very familiar with. One of my favorites is broccoli. Okay, I have it probably once a day for the last 20 years. And then of course cabbage. So you make a slaw out of that, of course, very easily. Cauliflower. There's all kind of greens. We like to actually blend those in our shakes. Is what we like to do here. So you've got a list here. We can choose one. So as example, kale. We may choose 2 to 4 leaves of kale. Shred that up in a blender and just blend it in with our shake. Okay, just to get more of those dense vegetables into our body. And then we have some other vegetables from the turnip family at the same time. So these are core vegetables. So we'll only eat those vegetables only on that on step 2 that week. But then also we always want to be aware of our good healthy fats. They're very important to our body. Fats help to, they actually can help speed up transit time. What happens is if you get very constipated, the oils act as a stool softener. Okay, so that's one good benefit. Also, they're anti-inflammatory in our body. Also, they act as they increase our calorie load. Okay, and they tend to stabilize insulin and glucose because they burn slow. The oils do. Okay, so it's good to have some our core fatty acids, things like olive oil, flaxseed oil, coconut oil, ghee butter, things like that. Okay, and there's some other things that we can follow by eating very clean beverages. We try to stay away from the sugar beverages, things like herbal teas and mineral water, or just good healthy spring or filtered water. Things like that would be good as far as beverages to eat. Let's see what else is on here. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah.
When you say herbal teas, are you eliminating green tea?
No, green tea is allowed.
Is that
we consider that a herbal tea, so it's okay to consume on this. Even like matcha latte, because you can have your coconut milk as your fatty acid along with the matcha. It's fine. And so on the 28-day group, on the 28-day Clear Change program, the week 2, it is the more intensive week. Okay, and then you can see on the on day 14, that's when we on the animal proteins we will still continue eating fish only, but now we're eating a little bit wider variety of vegetables and fruits. So we're bringing a little bit more variety in there, so we can diversify our diet a little more. And then as we are introducing a grain back, and that grain is only white rice only, is the only grain that you'll be doing on that on day 14 to 16. And then the next days is 17 to 19. Again, what we're doing is we're just reintroducing food back in. So we're adding our, we're adding our dairy alternatives here. Would be like coconut milk, almond milk, cashew milk, things like that, hemp seed milk. Okay. And then on day 20, we're adding nuts and seeds back in, or also nut butters. Okay. And so that's what the fast looks like. Anybody have any questions on that?
I do.
Yeah.
The white rice, so no brown rice, whole
Right,
grain, none of
just
that?
white rice.
What's the problem with brown rice? Just wondering,
We're just trying to keep it,
very bland?
yeah, keep it bland because we don't know what people are allergic to. A lot of times they don't either.
Okay.
And so as we scale these foods down, then we introduce these foods back. And then if you notice that you don't feel as good on the reintroduction, then you can maybe try to easily target what the cause is on that food group. So then you know that that food doesn't agree with you, it's best maybe just leave that out of the diet. Just like okay, very good. So this is good for everybody. And so if I follow my assumption that everybody wants to follow the more intensive program, so then I'm going to that just real briefly, okay? And so as far as supplements, what we would do, number one, we would increase the detox from primarily liver to a full body now. Okay, and so when I talk about full body now, I'm talking about this cleansing the lymphatic system. You have 3 times more lymphatic fluid than you do blood in the body, and it moves toxins out where the blood doesn't flow. Okay, which is very important. Okay, and then that lymph fluid, it moves through, and it doesn't really use the liver as its filter, but it uses called lymph nodes. Okay, that God has placed in your body for a really good reason. Okay, and we have a lot of those under our arms. Okay, there's lymph nodes there, and that's why sometimes it may smell, because it's trapping toxins, and now it's expelling the waste of those toxins out. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay, we have a lot of those in our breast area, under our jaw right here, our neck. That's why a lot of times when we get a virus, we get sick, if people are tender or be swelling here, because it's trying to trap the infection. Our nodes are trying to clean it up. Okay. Also, we have in the growing area and behind the knees, we have a lot of different types of lymph nodes throughout the whole body. And they serve a very, very important purpose in our body. And so I noticed that the lymphatic system gets really, really congested easy when you have bugs. Okay, parasites, worms, but bugs. Bugs can be things like bacteria, okay, or fungus, okay. And so, as you're going through this fast, you may say, well, one of my purposes, I want to eliminate sugar craving. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there. And so, it may be that you don't have the sugar craving, but maybe somebody living with you, maybe inside of you, has a sugar craving. And it may be real difficult to get rid of that craving unless you get rid of the other person, of the bug inside of you that's craving, it's screaming at you. It's throwing a fit like a little kid. It wants his sugar sweet, sweet. So it's good to eradicate him. He's lived there long enough. It's time to kick him out. Okay. Okay, so what we use there is for the bugs growing in our body, we have what we call a class to eradicate bacteria. We use the class of herbs called berberine, okay, right here, okay. And then also we use one from oregano, one for candida and fungus from the oregano family, Candibacter AR, okay. And so what you can do is simply take one of each of these before meals. It's really easy. Okay, and then after a week, then you build up to 2 of each, before meals. And it's just a way of cutting down on the bacteria, fungus load in our body. Something real easy to do. And so we feel like here in the Integrated Wellness Center, this is a good thing to do 30 days out of 1 year for the rest of your life. Okay, because that way it keeps the GI in check. Okay, because everybody's going to have celebrations in their life, and they may overindulge, and of course that'll create more bacterial overgrowth because of that. So it's a good thing to do. Good healthy thing to do.
Once a year, take these 2 for
Mhm.
30 days. What about that?
Yeah.
Does that include?
Also do that too. Yeah, a detox is good. Okay. And you can do that. We've been doing the detox for a while, but also I did talk about the full detox. I know I kind of got off subject there a little bit. We talked about the lymphatic system, but there's also another pathway. The bowel. We talked about that. We're going to open up the bowel, make sure we're having 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. Very healthy. And if you're not having 3, then we have a product called Colon X, which works really, really well. It has a lot of magnesium citrate with trifoliate in that, and it works very gentle as far as increasing that transit time. We wanted to have a transit time around 12 hours, just say, is our optimal. And so this is a detox kit, which is one of my favorites. It's nice because it's all liquid, so you can regulate the dosages. So as an example, if your liver and kidney and bladder work really well, but your lymphatic system is real congested, then really you can just increase the dosage in this one and keep the dosage on the others the same, as an example. Ityres for the lymphatic system. The APO Hepact is for the liver and gallbladder. And Relinex is for the kidneys and bladder. Okay. So basically, you would place, as an example, if you read the directions here, it says put 15 drops of each of these vials in like 8 ounces of water. And you just sip on the water. It really doesn't have a taste. So it's really easy to add this to your regimen in a day, and that gives you a full body detox, or we call it. You're moving into a more intensive type of detox now. And so that would be the steps, is going from simple to intensive. You add in the antifungal, antibacterial agents. Okay. Add in the Vacana detoxification kit, so it's more of a full body kit now. And also you're adding fibers in there at the same time, so it can bind. Because what happens is, as you kill off a fungus or bacteria, it leaves behind a biofilm in that area. And so research studies show that a new infection will come out of that biofilm if it's not bound and emulsified and detoxified out at the same time. So that's what we're doing with these binders and fibers, is we're using those as our cleanup products. After the bacteria is dead or whatever else is living in your body is being eradicated, then you're emulsifying that biofilm and moving it out at the same time. So you're left behind a very clean tissue. And think of your tissues is like we call it cell-to-cell communication. You want cell-to-cell communication to be clear. You know, so one cell may reach out and say, "Hey, I need some help down here. Send some vitamin C to me." And there's a miscommunication because all the junk, during the process, it can't really hear you very well, and it thinks you meant vitamin D. Send some vitamin D, instead of vitamin C. And so it doesn't get the components it really needs to help survive, to say, protect itself. And so all that junk in between the cells that they're trying to communicate is cleared up during our detox. Okay, so our cell-to-cell communication gets much improved. Okay, during this process. Okay, which is kind of neat. Okay, and so this is a very gentle binder, especially for people who are a little bit more hypersensitive. Is a product called chlorella. Okay, it's based on algae from the sea. Okay, and it's used as a really good supplement, and also used as a binder. It works really good for mycotoxins at the same time. So we like this one a lot too. I just want to take a little bit of a break. Anybody have any questions on that? We're kind of moving into the intensive side a little bit. Okay.
I thought we were already there. I'm
Okay.
feeling overwhelmed, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I'm starting out right now, I'm doing the 10-day detox.
Perfect. It's a great way to start, and that's what we want you to do. We want you to start off with the 10-day detox. Okay, and then after 10-day detox, you can say, well, I've accomplished my purpose and I'm done, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But also, you can say, okay, great, I survived this. This is easy. Now I want to accept that new challenge. I want to go to the next level. So there's no wrong way here. It's just what do you we're trying to help you with your purpose in life and try to help guide you through that process, to say.
So once you do, I guess I'm wondering, when do you stop? Do you do this and then you're done, or is it ongoing?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and it depends upon your toxicity level. Like for me, I started 25 years ago and haven't stopped. Okay, so mine's ongoing, and the way I judge that is by my toxicity score. I do that. I've done a lot of different tests in the past, but the one I'm going off now is called total toxic burden. Okay, until all my scores get down, we call it the green. Okay, then I would say I'm kind of finished. And then I'm going to maintenance once a year maybe after that. But until my scores get down the green, then I'll continue my detox.
Is that urine, blood, or hair? Or how do you get that for that test?
How do you prepare for the
Yeah,
test?
or how
Yeah,
is-
so what
how
we
do
do
you
is
get
we,
that test?
we give you a chelating agent to help
With
bind it
urine?
in the tissue so it can pull out. Just a simple first time urine sample test. So it's really, really easy to do.
I don't understand how you're doing the toxicity test.
Yeah, so what we're doing is it's actually it's a lab test, and what would happen is we would give you a test kit that you would take home with you, okay? And basically you're collecting your first morning urine,
Oh,
and then the lab is analyzing all these different toxicity
okay, so
numbers.
it's a urine sample.
Yeah, just a simple urine sample is
Okay.
all it is, and that's what it requires to do this test called total toxic burden. Yeah, it works really well.
Okay, can we repeat the 10-day one if you want to?
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
stay with that.
Mhm.
I really like that one.
Yeah.
Probably the same one you're doing.
Mhm.
And then it said that the Advoclear, isn't that the pill?
Yep.
Well,
That's
on the
tablet right here.
label, it says if you're taking medication to check, you know, I'm on a high blood pressure medication, I don't think the 2 pills are gonna hurt me,
Yeah,
right?
so what you would do is, a lot of things are not studied working together, okay? Especially when we get into prescription drugs. So we always say, don't take them in the same handful.
Right, I take
You know,
one and then one later.
Space them out 1 or 2 hours
Right.
away.
That's what I did.
Yes, well, recommend that. Yeah. You still feeling overwhelmed, or does that help you a little
I
bit?
feel better, because
Feel better,
now,
okay,
now I understand the test for the toxic load,
Mhm.
and to me now, okay, now I'm doing the 10-day,
Mhm.
and at some point, then I can assess by doing the toxic load,
Right.
where I should go from there.
That's right.
Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that'd be the best way, yeah. Okay, great. And so, if you haven't started yet, of course, this is a great time to, get started, okay? But let's talk about digestion a little bit, okay? Your digestion health tells me a lot about your body, okay, and your chemistry. And so let's talk about that a little bit, okay? And say, one of my questions I may have for you is, when you eat, do you have trouble or any complications digesting your food? Okay. What that could be is, do you have pain in your abdominals when you eat food? Okay. Do you have a bitter taste in your mouth, or you have a burning, or you taste acid? Okay. Do you get full easy? You can't finish the meal, or do you immediately start getting bloated and then you have a lot of gas, maybe some burping? Okay, with that, and so it kind of dictates on the food groups that you should be eating, depending on how your digestion is. Okay, so I'm going to separate those a little bit here now. And so, for the people who are more prone to, they have a lot of gas, burping after their meals. Okay, then in the intensive cycle, we have a special diet you would follow called SIBO or SIBO. You follow that shopping list. It's a guide, and so Kelsey's going to go over that in detail with you. Okay, and if you like, we can always send an electronic document to have it in hand also. And then, if you're not doing the SIBO, then that leads us to another diet, and it's very, very similar to the Clear Change program. Okay, and so it's called an anti-candida diet. Okay, and so we're trying to limit the carbs down to 50 carbs for the whole day. Okay, and the purpose of that is we're trying to starve the excess of bacteria, fungus, parasites that could be living in our body. Okay, so that's the reason that we're doing this. Okay, and then we're doing Ultra Clear Renew, maybe several times a day to keep our calorie load up, because we don't want you to get hungry. We don't want you to starve, per se. Okay, so there's always, I like to eat a snack or a meal every 4 hours. That's kind of how I plan my day, and I feel like I feel my best on that area. Okay, so one thing you don't want to do is on a traditional diet, we say we don't want to spike our insulin. Okay, if we spike our insulin, then it causes our body to age a lot more quickly, and also it starts developing more inflammation. Okay, and then also it tends to compromise its ability to break down fats, so our cholesterol may go up. And so that's why we don't want to spike the insulin. So how we keep from doing that is we eat more of a lower glycemic food, lower carb diet. And then we're eating every 4 hours to keep our glucose and insulin stable. And it's not flip-flopping back and forth. If it jumps up sky high after like a piece of candy or a piece of pie, then 2 hours later it's going to crash real low, and we're going to have that craving all over again. So we want to keep it more steady. Okay, that's one reason why we really like adding oils, fat, good healthy fats to our diet, because it helps to stabilize that insulin glucose by burning slow, from one meal to the next. You understand? And so I hope it's not confusing. So we'd like for you to follow either the anti-candida or the SIBO, okay? Or you can follow the Clear Change diet. It's very, very similar to our anti-candida program, okay? And so Kelsey is going to be going over those with you now. You have any questions before I turn it over to Kelsey?
I just have a
Okay.
comment, if you don't mind.
Sure. Mhm.
I was having problems with feeling nauseous and not wanting to eat. I just had this feeling food didn't sound good to me.
Okay.
But, I mean, ate anyway, but I,
Mhm.
just because I knew I needed to.
Right.
But since my cancer diagnosis, which was just a short time ago, and my surgery, I've been juicing,
Mhm.
and that went away.
Oh, great. So yeah, so in your treatments, it's extremely toxic to the body, and I mean it's for a purpose. It's called
My only treatment is tamoxifen. I'm
Oh,
not
oh,
doing
that's
anything
oh, that's
else.
what you're
You
doing.
have
Okay.
anesthesia too.
Pardon?
Anesthesia, that'll affects everything
Very
too.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then you're doing the right thing. Then it went away.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm
good.
trying to figure out why, but it just went away, and I'm very happy about it.
Yeah.
Trauma.
Um,
Mm.
Okay. All right. Ready, Kelsey? Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. So Dr. John kind of introduced what I'm going to be talking to you about. So just so I can kind of get a gauge of where everyone is based off what he said with SIBO being complications with digesting food, breaking things down. Does anyone in the audience relate to having that bloating feeling full, or gas, belching, burping, anything like that? Just by show of hands. No. It didn't seem like that was, and that's a good thing. So I'll just briefly talk about that SIBO diet because it seems like we're all mostly dealing with candida. So SIBO, essentially we're restricting the type of vegetables to those that are easy for the body to break down. The protein list is essentially the same. We want to do lean, clean, healthy proteins, and so if we're doing fish, we want to make sure that it's wild caught, not Atlantic or farm raised. And also for things like beef, we want to kind of limit that to only once a week. It's difficult on your digestive system, so that's something that's across the board for both diets. And then for the veggies for SIBO, if this does resonate with you or anyone you know, we want to focus on vegetables that are easy to break down. So things like broccoli, Brussels, cauliflower, anything in that family is not going to be permitted on the SIBO diet. We're looking at things like cucumbers, carrots. Romaine red or green leaf lettuce is the only type of green that's good for that SIBO diet because it's just easier on the digestive tract. We eat a lot of olives on the SIBO diet, zucchini, squash. It's kind of more tailored to how severe your symptoms are, and then over time we will slowly incorporate things and see how your body tolerates that. And focusing always on our proteins, our veggies, and our healthy oils and fats. That's something that's the same across both diets as well. And Dr. John talked about the benefits of the healthy anti-inflammatory oils and also nutrient-dense vegetables. So that was just a little overview on SIBO. We'll talk about anti-candida now. Was anyone able to complete the candida questionnaire? Got your scores or know where to start? That's okay, no problem. It's in your email, so if you want to take a look at that document and just complete those questionnaires, it gives you a lot of insight into what type of symptoms can reveal whether or not you have candida. And my score, I'm a little embarrassed to share, but my score was 103. And so that is, and if you look at the way the score breaks down, and that's because of things like I was on an antibiotic in the month of December, and so after that I kind of got hit with a lot of fatigue, a little bit of brain fog. It really did some damage on my microbiome. I had been working to reconstruct these things and got sick and couldn't get better and ended up doing an antibiotic, and I should have entered the post-antibiotic protocol to kind of help heal and do a probiotic flush so that the good bacteria could settle in, but I didn't do that, and so I had some dandruff and dryness in my scalp. I noticed sluggishness in my lymphatic system. and I was able to endorse certain symptoms. And it didn't look like a lot because there was only a few every here and there. But when you total it up and you see the number, it really brings some awareness to you. Like, okay, holy cow, I've got some work to do. I need to make some changes. So if you get a chance to do that questionnaire, go ahead and do that. And with the anti-candida diet, like he said, it does very closely mimic the Clear Change diet. We are, let me pull this up here because we've got lots of options for veggies for you on this one. And like Nancy said, I've done this diet before. It's really
So
easy to
doable.
do. It's so easy to do. And if you don't have a problem with vegetables, then you don't have a problem with this diet. Some patients, they don't like their veggies, and that we run into some issues with that. But we're all here together because we know the benefits of eating well and eating to become whole. So we're focusing on our proteins, wanting to get between 2 and 3 servings a day. And we include our protein shake as one of those servings, and so that counts towards your total protein servings for the day. And then our next area of focus, and this is the document I'm looking at. We shared this with you in that first email that went out, but we'd be happy to resend it so that it's at the top so you can get to it quickly. But so for our proteins, we kind of got that covered. And then we move into the next group, which is our category 1 veggies. Our category 1 veggies are those that are going to be good for metabolic detoxification, which is our goal here, and cleansing the blood. And so we want to make sure you're getting at least 2 from each category, and then we'll go up to our additional category 1 veggies. But just to give you some examples, that's things like asparagus or celery. Those are really great for detoxifying the blood. And then the cruciferous veggies, good for cleansing. That's your broccoli, your Brussels, anything in that family. And we want between 7 to 10 servings a day, so it's really easy to, if you kind of stack 2 with breakfast, 2 with a shake, 2 with lunch, and 2 at dinner, and you've hit your servings for the day. And like Nancy said, it's important to use these options that you have so you don't get bored. If you're like me, you can eat the same thing every day for the rest of your life and be okay. But most people are not like that. So we've got additional veggies on this second column here, and they increase in starch as you go to this list. And so we really want to focus on our category 1s. And then our good healthy oils and fats, we have talked about that some. Wanting to get between 5 and 6 servings of oils a day. And so if you look at how that breaks down, you'll get 2 with your morning shake or even a serving with your matcha. So if you do your matcha in the morning, which we all highly recommend, we're in the matcha syndrome, like Nancy said. Me too, it's great, in the best of ways, And so you get a serving of fats and oils with your matcha, and then you add oils to your protein shake, oils to your salad dressing, and you cook with oil or top with oil. You reach it sounds like an ominous number, but it's really doable when you spread it out throughout the day.
Did you say you add oils to your shake?
Yes, you can add oils to your shake. I'll do ground flax or flaxseed oil in my shakes, or MCT oil is also a good one. I like coconut oil or MCT powder with my matcha. That's just a really great addition. I like the creaminess. It kind of, I don't know what that says about me, but yeah, so, and then olives count as a serving of oils too. And so I'll mid-afternoon or before lunch, if I can't wait till lunch, I can get a handful of olives and making a healthy decision there, making sure that I always have those around.
And that's green olives?
Yes, I do green olives. I'm working on, I need to do more research into a great source for the olives. I will sometimes go to Whole Foods and they have that olive bar there, and that's kind of what I do now. Just because the cans, you look at what's in them and you don't ever know your sources, and you can tell the quality once you've had good quality olives.
It's terrible.
That it's like the texture, the way they look, you can just notice differences there. So high quality olives and high quality olive oil is important. We had that conversation a little bit ago, and that was really insightful. So things that we're eliminating with this diet, we are working from a grain-free, a dairy-free place. So think we're eliminating and also moldy foods because we're working with candida, which is a type of fungus. So eliminating any foods that could cause that fungus to grow or overgrow. So things like avocados or mushrooms are not permitted on this diet. They're kind of a gray area, but we just like to avoid them, especially since we're removing foods. High histamine foods are not permitted on anti-candida, and those are things that would heat up the insides. So you think things that have a high histamine content, tomatoes, peppers, they increase your body's histamine level, and you can be flushed sometimes, or we're just working to eliminate those right now. All dairy products, so that's pretty clear. All dairy, cheese, milk, yogurt, sour cream, any yeast-containing foods. This is mainly found in your condiments, dressings, things like that, vinegars, Worcestershire sauce. That's things that we cook with that have that fermented quality. We're working to eliminate those in this diet. All meat from scavengers, so that includes pork and shellfish. We want to get those out because of they're not clean sources. We're working from a clean diet. All processed and fast foods and all sugars. We're eliminating everything that could cause any bacteria or fungus or anything that's bad inside of us to grow. These are all things that they love to feed off of. So we're starving that bacteria, we're starving that candida, we're starving the yeast and the fungus, and we're switching to a different fuel source. So if you're experiencing things like occasionally I'll crave bread because I haven't had, I'm working to break that craving, but that's the yeast inside of me that's like, I want bread, feed me bread. I don't care about your diet, feed me bread. And so we have to kind of, it's a mind-body thing when you're working with a detox. And so I hope that's kind of a quick overview. Did y'all have any questions about that?
I actually have a question about the diets in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so, does anybody just like go out and have a steak one night during the middle of it? Or, what happens if you break the detox routine and eat something else?
So we have that happen. It's easier to note with our SIBO patients because they have a more strict diet. And so if they want to introduce something that they haven't had, it typically comes with aggressive symptoms. So if you've been off these things for so long and you introduce them, the symptoms come right back.
Like what?
Like for SIBO, it'd be bloating or difficulty digesting.
Okay.
For Candida, because I haven't ever I've done the anti-Candida diet, but never in the context of a fast, so with the products and the protein shakes. So I don't know from my own personal experience, but I would assume the symptoms would come back.
Yeah.
And so I think, Dr. John, is there anything you want to add to that question to answer?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
What happens?
Did you have a lot more to go over?
No, that's it.
Yeah, so you can stay up here with me if you want to. And so, if this is your first fast, okay, and so I would say that your question is if you just strongly create, you have a strong craving for steak, should you eat a steak or not?
Right, or if it's somebody's birthday and you're going out with the family,
Okay.
Can you break from it for one meal, without starting over again?
I would
Yeah.
say yes.
Yeah.
And then the next day you jump in and,
Mhm.
I mean, life is life.
Yeah.
It does.
That's right.
It
Yeah,
does happen.
I agree. So I tell people to do the best they can.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
My husband was on the SIBO diet for a long time when he was going through that issue. And if he didn't, we'd come in and check periodically, make sure that he was on track. And if he wasn't, he could tell, because he had a serious problem.
Yeah.
And that really was important. And, but I think, like you, what if, I used to take food. If we would go out to eat, we'd take our own food or, you know, just choose the things that are, and ask the chef to do something that didn't have, the, you know,
Yeah.
certain ingredients that you couldn't eat, work with you, you know.
Yeah, I think it's smart. Yeah, I appreciate your
Yeah, that's,
appreciate you sharing there. Okay. Yeah, so one thing that be conscious of is maybe take a digestive enzyme or maybe take extra fiber that evening to make sure it doesn't congest or slow down your transit time. You know, because meat can do that. You know, it moves through at a much slower rate than like fish or
Right.
eggs. And
Right.
just be conscious of that. So here's my favorite laxative, Colonex. It's a good one to start on. It's very gentle. Okay. All right. And, yeah, it's not very expensive. Okay. And so I know. Let's give Kelsey a round of applause. She did a really good job.
good job.
We really appreciate her being here, you know, to help us out. She did a really good job. She's learning a lot. It's good to it's good to teach someone at a young age, because then she'll have much more capacity to have generational influence. You know, to say. Okay. Yeah.
Very much needed.
That's my goal.
That's great, Kelsey.
Yeah. And so let me, going back over the anti-candida diet that you went over, okay? And so one thing, one warning of that is if you've been diagnosed with low thyroid, you know, and you may be taking a medication for that, okay? That we have to be careful on certain vegetable groups because they tend to block thyroid hormones. And so things like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and cabbage. Okay, and so it's okay to consume those, but they have to be cooked, and you can only have them one time a day on those if you've been diagnosed with hypothyroid. Just kind of be aware of that. Okay. And so I was going to give you a quick overview, okay, real fast. All right, so the people who want to be on the intensive, the first thing, you know, we already talked about UltraClear and AviClear. UltraClear and AviClear, okay, foundational, okay. And then from there, then your choices would be to then consume the basic detox kit. Now you're on a full body detox, okay, a lot more intensive, okay, with just one little added step of drinking, 2 or 3 glasses of water a day with these drops in them. Okay. So it's real easy to do that, okay.
Question.
Okay.
Can you do that with the 10-day or only with the 28-day?
Yeah, you can do it. There's no wrong way.
Oh,
That's my
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, you can start it any time you want. I mean, just start consuming this.
okay.
What about during the liquid fast? Can you do that as well?
You can still do that
Okay.
too at the same time. Yeah, it's very gentle. Okay, and then from there, then the next step would be to consume antibacterial, antifungal agents, and start off real gently with just one of each. Okay, then as you're ready, then move up to 2 of each. It could be 3 to 10 days after that. Okay, if you start feeling nausea with this, then you might want to scale back to just that one of each. Okay, so one that would happen is we call it. So if you have a lot of overgrowth of bacterial yeast in your body, and we try to kill that off too rapidly, then it could create a feeling of sickness, like a detox reaction. And so we want to make sure we taper those up very gently, okay? So if you have a nausea, then just scale back down, okay? Or maybe take a break between them, but then just taper up a lot more slowly, okay? All right. Did I forget anything? All right. Okay, good. We're always here to help you. One test that's really good to do. It doesn't cost very much. Is what we call a body composition test. Body composition is very important because we're looking at how hydrated your cells are from the intercellular level, and also if you have water retention, it'll be extracellular level. Okay, so we want water to go inside the cell. When water goes inside the cell, then it's more like a plump, juicy grape. Okay, and that way it's carrying out toxins. It's flushing out the intercellular of the cell. Okay, if you have low intracellular fluid level compared to extracellular, that ratio. Then instead of having a grape, it's more like a raisin because inside the cell is a little dehydrated. Okay, and so that means it's a little toxic, and so we want to open up that pathway, consume a lot of fluids, and then we want to hydrate those intercellular functions, and that way toxins move out. And so we have a simple test we can do with that. Also, there's a bonus. You also get you measure muscle mass in your body. Okay, it's kind of typical as you get older, you tend to start losing muscle mass. So we look at those ratios very closely of fat mass to muscle mass, and that could be a risk factor of if your organs are getting fatty inside. Even if you're not like plump and fat like this, your organs may become fat with that low muscle mass decline. So we can keep track of those ratios with you too. So it's very, very helpful to test to do. You can schedule that with Kelsey. She would love to do a body comp analysis on you, and it's a good baseline to go by. And so I'm going to go over something real briefly that I think Kelsey touched on. Is there's one of my favorite beverages. Okay, and one of our missions in life is to get everybody off coffee and onto matcha latte. Okay, and so I want to tell you a little story. Okay, back when I was young, in my 20s, I worked for a large international company, and I happened to fly over to Tokyo for a week in Japan, and I was introducing I was selling our 5-year product development plan to the manufacturing staff, the senior staff, and then I met with the vice president of the company to get funding for my project that I was working on. And in that process, one evening, as right before I was getting ready to leave work that evening, my assistant said they needed my presence in the conference room. Okay. Well, I went in the conference room. It was a big surprise, so I had to take off my shoes before I go in. Okay. And then everybody was sitting on their knees, surrounded by all businessmen from all walks of life in this big circle. Okay. And I was just intrigued and just observing what's going to happen. I had no idea. And so what happened is that this teenage lady came in, and she had this big bowl, and she started mixing this green powder with coconut milk in this, in this big bowl. She started mixing this up, and then everybody would, then she would tilt the bowl, and then we would all taste it, and then we would give her affirmations of such a great job she did making this matcha latte. Okay, and so this is a tradition in Japan. When you come to age, you learn how to make matcha. It's very important because it has special catechins that are naturally forming in these green tea leaves that are anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, and have a lot of really good healthy benefits to our body. And so matcha latte, we'll send you a recipe out, but we encourage everyone to try it out.